Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to give you my thoughts on Spider-Man Far From Home. Again, directed by John Watts and starring Tom Holland, Samuel L. Jackson, Zendaya, Kobe Smulders, Jon Favreau, as well as Jake Gyllenhaal and Marissa Tomei. Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here again to bring you my thoughts on, again, Spider-Man Far From Home. And, of course, this is the big follow-up after Avengers Endgame left its mark where it did. I've been anticipating this movie a fair bit. I've always been a massive fan of Spider-Man, since I was a little kid. My favorite when I was little was always, Batman, but after that it was, like the Hulk, and like right on the tails of the Hulk was always Spider-Man for me. I would debate all the time. Since then, characters like the Punisher have, kind of gone over that in certain ways, but I always appreciate and want the best for any sort of Spider-Man movie out there. One of my all-time favorite comic book movies is still the first Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi film. I actually enjoyed the Amazing Spider-Man films as well, especially the first one. The second I'm pretty mixed on, but there's some, still some good acting in it and everything. Now, Spider-Man Homecoming I liked. I got enjoyment out of it, but it just didn't feel like a real Spider-Man movie to me. I mean, I just feel like they had Peter Parker rely too much on, wanting to live up to what he thinks Tony Stark wanted out of him. Became like an Iron Spider-Boy type of situation, whereas Spider-Man, his greatest strength comes from within himself, his heart, his own, determination and, will and things like that. So it bothered me that he was so driven and, sort of built up by what Tony Stark wanted for him, or what he thinks Stark wanted for him. And then using all that, fancy Stark tech, which Spider-Man really doesn't and shouldn't need. Still some enjoyable aspects of it, and again, that theme of, how close he was to Stark is carried over into this, because, of course, spoilers, I hope everyone has seen the second highest grossing film of all time by now, but spoilers for Endgame, with Tony Stark being dead now. There's a lot that weighs on Peter Parker here, but I think it's actually utilized much, much better. A big theme in this movie is something I was very pleased with Stark gone. It's about, yes, Peter living up to what he thinks Tony would have wanted him to do, but also Peter Parker and the superhero of Spider-Man stepping into his own and being something that the world will need now. There's, of course, another fear of mine, and, something I had issue with in Homecoming is that it was, of course, there's going to be comedy with Spider-Man, but sometimes I feel like Homecoming overdid it. Sometimes it didn't quite land. And, that kind of thing continues into here. It is very comedy-esque, very comedy-infused. And it's to the point where sometimes it would feel like a, Spider-Man-themed high school romantic action comedy or something like that, And that kind of continues into here, but what saves it is, again, those themes I talked about that are actually present in this, that they actually, for the most part, hit home with. So I actually ended up enjoying this movie quite a bit more than Homecoming, certainly. Which, again, I don't think is terrible. I just had a lot of, issues that sort of dragged it for me. Personally, to me, I guess, I already said I really liked it. So personally, for me, this is probably one of my 3 favorite Spider-Man movies at this point. It's kind of weird to compare to an animated one like Into the Spider-Verse, but in terms of live-action ones, live-action always connects with me more, typically anyway. My three favorites are now, again, the original Tobey Maguire film. I still really like the first Amazing Spider-Man, and now it's this one, which, they kind of narrowly edge out like Spider-Man 2 for me, which I still really like, don't get me wrong. Of course, again, it's after Tony Stark's sacrifice, so Peter's carrying a lot of that on his shoulders. Meanwhile, he's still trying to live out his high school life. He's going on a big class field trip to Europe. They got a couple, sort of well-meaning, but not very capable, teacher chaperones and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Peter's also dealing with, his growing affections for MJ, Zendaya. And at the same time, Jon Favreau, or Happy, is courting his aunt, as well as Nick Fury and Maria Hill, pulling him in and trying to rely on Spider-Man more than ever now, with, as you guys see in the trailers, Thor being off-world, Captain Marvel being unavailable, or whatever. So they need Spider-Man, and they, again, need him to, step up, and it's, Peter, great power, great responsibility, that kind of thing, right? So yeah, I think this movie really works, and with that, you have, of course, Jake Gyllenhaal coming in as Mysterio. Again, signing some big name actors to play these villains in the movie. And I don't think it's spoiling anything to call Mysterio a villain. I mean, come on, he's a pretty old foe of Spider-Man. And even if you don't know that, things just seem way too perfect with him in the movie for a while. So it's not a massive spoiler to say that. I'm sorry if it ruins the movie for you, but it really shouldn't. Jake Gyllenhaal is pretty good here. He basically, he's presented as this great hero who's saving the world from the oncoming assault from these elementals, like this big water monster, which is like an homage to like the Hydro Man villain, a fire one, a storm one, that kind of thing. But of course, there's more going on underneath the surface than that. If you know the nature of Mysterio at all, if you've ever been a fan of Spider-Man, it's pretty easy to figure out how he's doing, what he's doing, and what he's doing exactly. But I won't go into full detail about that. But first off, I got to talk about Tom Holland. Tom Holland, I think, has all the potential and promise in the world playing this character. I'll say that right now. And he's done a very good job so far. But again, as this character, as this version of Peter Parker grows, I think Tom Holland will just get better and better. He stepped more into his own than ever in this movie. And Tom Holland's done a really good job with it. He was pretty spectacular in this movie. I'll use that lame pun. But he has that well-meaning nature to him. He has a desperate sort of I don't know what to do type of vibe with him. But then at the same time, when it comes down to it, he's very smart. He has a lot of heart like Spider-Man's supposed to. And some of the best scenes in this movie are when you see him reflecting on Tony Stark. Because of how much Stark was to him as a mentor and everything like that. There's actually a great scene between him and Happy, where they talk about Tony's intentions for him. And this clip, although very, very meaningful, so it makes me think maybe they shouldn't have had it in the trailers. But you see it in the trailers where Happy basically talks about how Tony wouldn't have made the sacrifice that he did if he didn't know that someone like Peter would be there when he was gone. So they're really building up Peter Parker very highly here, to lead this next phase of the MCU, really, which I absolutely love. Giving him access to these classes, which control quite a bit, and different things of that nature. There's some really great acting in that scene between him and Jon Favreau, which I really liked a lot. So again, my hope for Tom Holland. I am one of those people who are also kind of tired of Spider-Man being in high school, being a kid, because there are Spider-Man stories where Spider-Man's a functioning adult. They don't all need to be in high school or bridging college or something like that. But hey, Tom Holland says he wants to play Spider-Man until he can't walk anymore, until or like 20 years from now or something like that. He's fine with at least. So yeah, do that. They should keep Tom Holland for as long as possible, really. because I think it would be great to really see these movies and the character grow with him. As the themes get more serious, maybe the threats get more serious, the stakes and everything like that. So if they take that direction, which they seem to steadily be with this movie, I am going to be very happy. And there's a fun nature to it. Like I said, at first I did have that worry that sort of that high school romantic comedy vibe was going to take over it. And at times it does. For like the first half especially, it does a bit. Because you're still juggling with, oh wait, Mysterio's this good thing, right? Let's let him handle it and things like that. Let's see what he says about the situation or whatever. And again, being an actual Spider-Man fan, okay, come on, Mysterio isn't the good guy here. So it felt a little bit dry for that first part, and it isn't a short movie. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes. So the first half, it felt a little bit played out to me. But I will say that I do think Peter and Zendaya do have better chemistry in this. I just think they gave this version of MJ more to do, and I actually do think they have some really cute scenes together, so I am not a fan of that. And I do think the humor in general worked better in this movie, at least for me. The whole Flash Thompson thing and the Ned thing can get a little bit old at some point. It doesn't feel as meaningful as like his relationship with Harry, James Franco in the initial films or anything. But they're fine for what they are as well. There's a particularly hilarious scene on the road where Peter's worried about this other guy that's sort of seeming to have a thing for MJ, and it gets kind of carried away with the function of the glasses he was given. Again, Jake Gyllenhaal is good in this movie. Another bigger name than you'd expect to play the possible antagonist in this, and he does actually have a decent scene with Peter. It's actually semi-serious, where he actually gives him some sound advice about it, and he senses a little bit of potential camaraderie and stuff like that. So he didn't do a bad job. I don't know if it's hard to compare him to like Michael Keaton's Vulture. They're just very different types of foes in nature. So I think it just kind of depends what you're in the mood for. But I both think they were good for what they're going for, I suppose. Like I said, some of the friends besides MJ, I could kind of take them or leave them. But I do think the humor is a little bit better in this somehow. A little bit more, I don't know, just something worked about for me. It's more consistent. And I also got to say, they do deliver on the Spider-Man action. There are some terrific, I think, action sequences, especially near the climax and in the climax. Really well filmed. You really see what Spider-Man's capable of without using a shit ton of Iron Man, technology. Just his webbing, his acrobatics, his Peter Tingle. It's a little joke in the movie. It's not a spoiler, but basically you have a couple characters referring to his spider sense as Peter Tingle. With that, they show how damn capable Spider-Man is. Just being himself, just being what he is. Without getting a bunch of tech aid or anything like that. Physically, you see him do more than ever before with the threats he's facing. And yeah, you just again really see that determination for the character that you'd expect, and that I've loved so much since I was a little kid. I can definitely see myself getting behind Tom Holland more and more with every movie. Again, I'm eager and excited and hopeful that they just keep letting this version of the character grow. And I guess I also really like the ending in this movie, especially the mid-credits scene, what that adds to it. It's going to set up for quite an engaging, third Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, which I'm sure we're getting. There's also a nice little surprise in the mid-credits scene as well. That is a really nice thing to see for longtime fans of the character on screen. So there's also another. There's a mid-credits scene. There's an after-credits scene. The other one, it feels important, but then it's really not. It's more of just a chuckle sort of thing. It's still fine. Make sure you stay for them. Overall, I really like Spider-Man Far From Home, actually. I just found a better balance. Certain issues I had from Homecoming almost worry me, but then it was padded out. It was sort of surrounded by a lot of other more well-realized bits that I really liked about it. Tom Holland just as good as ever, if not better, again with every movie. So for now, I'm rating it I have it at a B plus or an 87%, but I think I could bump it up a couple notches to like an 88, 80, 89% or something along that line. Not quite sure if I want to give it like in the A range, but I did really enjoy it. Besides like the besides like Infinity War and Endgame, I think it's one of the best MCU movies we've had over the past few years. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's one of my 3 favorite Spider-Man movies we've ever gotten now, so I think I should say quite a bit. And yes, I did have a Spider-Man shirt on earlier, but now I'm just wearing my Supernatural sleeveless shirt because it's damn hot right now. So yeah, let me guys talk about Spider-Man Far From Home. Where does it rank amongst all the other Spidey movies we've gotten over the years for you? And unfortunately, no, there's no Stan Lee cameo in this. It's something you're always going to be looking for in every Marvel movie, even in the future, probably. You miss it, but I think his last cameo was actually in Endgame. But yeah, so rest in peace, Stan the Man Lee again, if that wasn't said enough over the past year. But yeah, really loved Far From Home. So yeah, catch you guys next time. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and peace.